Good man, let's start it again.
Yeah!
Okay, so I guess we're going to kick off with me now. So my topic was 80s sci-fi will never die.
It's back, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, UJ is back! Woo!
Yay! On 80s sci-fi will never die.
One thing. So, Seamus, entertained so far?
This is fun. I'm enjoying myself. Yeah. Hopefully it's not too hard to listen to.
No, you'll be listening to it because you've listened to them all.
I'm your biggest fan. I have listened to them all. It's a good killer at work. Good time killer.
Yeah, he's been listening since the beginning. I think you've listened to the live ones.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Every single one.
I don't know what a Pika Man is, but no, you know a few Pokemon.
I keep learning as I go. I retain the information, so that's all that's important.
Oh, man.
Okay, so though it's not actually a movie from the 80s, because I love science fiction, and this is where it really, really comes into its own, with the most beautiful, dark, gritty, disgusting universes, horrifying creatures, and the idea that the future is trying to kill you, as opposed to everything's great, don't worry.
The rise of the dystopian future.
Yeah, everybody loves you. It started with Alien, which came out in 1979. Its tagline was, "In space, no one can hear you scream," and it is still one of the best science fiction horror movies available.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward a few years, drop it from Ridley Scott's hands, who is a phenomenal director, and I'll talk about him in a little bit again, and put it in the hands of young James Cameron, and I'll talk about why I hate old James Cameron in another episode. And you get Aliens. Now, Aliens is still regarded as one of the best science fiction action movies ever made. The reason for this is that A, it's well written, B, it's well acted, C, it's got good pacing. And the reason that it's one of the best is that even nowadays, like, it's 2013 and things are still throwing references to it.
Mm-hmm.
Colonial Marine just came out, which was bad, but still, like, you can tell that it's got a presence and it's not going to go away anytime soon. Halo, back in 2001, is riddled with alien references and aliens references.
Oh.
Everything from the motion tracker to the gruff black sergeant to the motor-mouthed and way overconfident Marines.
That's true. Those are standard tropes, and they began with
the aliens.
With aliens, didn't they?
That's where it all starts. Things like that. The 80s also saw a rise of, or witness to the rise of Arnold Schwarzenegger back when he was in his heyday. Things like the first Terminator movie, Predator, just a lot of these really solid science fiction movies. Yeah. That came out. And like, I was watching an episode of Archer from season 3, and he's in the jungle looking around.
Yeah.
And Lon looks at him and goes, "What do you do?" "Oh God, you're looking for Predator, aren't you?" And I'm like, see? It's right there. It's all around us still. It's never going to go away. The 80s also had one of the, in my opinion, best written and still best directed Star Wars movies. Empire came out.
Empire's awesome.
Josh pointed out that it's true that it's very hard to find a movie where the bad guys win, and in the end, somehow you still feel satisfied with that.
Yeah. You're like, this was a great movie. No matter what, I know there's more coming, so there will be more resolution to this, but this was a very solid movie, and I can appreciate it from start to finish. From there, we had things like The Next Generation as well. Star Trek came back into its own, and with one of the strongest in its run. Yeah.
If not the strongest.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't... There was a lot of people that did love Star Trek, but more people like TNG. Well, and it hit on current their current events and everything. And you can still kind of pick it out when you watch it now. You can kind of be like, oh, hey.
Next Generation was a radical departure. They changed a lot of things about it. And a lot of it was for the better, I think.
Like working with Industrial Light and Magic.
Yeah.
It was a really strong TV show. I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but like I gotta give it props. It brought science fiction into the everyday home in a powerful way.
Yeah.
From there, I'm going back to Ridley Scott, and we'll talk about my favorite thing that happened from this. We saw one of the other most powerful movies of the 80s as far as science fiction goes drop. I will not recommend you to watch it. It is a very slow watch. It's very hard to sit through all of Blade Runner. It is
it is a slog.
It is a very good movie. It is very well written.
It's a great word.
If you like film noir or anything of the sort, if you can handle that kind of like very heavy dialogue driven, watching a guy sit in front of what is essentially a screen staring at a picture for 10 minutes, trying to find like that one little thing that just makes it all just click.
Yeah, film noirs.
If you can't handle that, then don't watch Blade Runner, because it's very slow. But Blade Runner left a phenomenally huge, like, if I said Akira left a small impact crater, that's like PEI sized, then Blade Runner drops something the size of Ontario on the world as far as cyberpunk goes. Western cyberpunk became huge after Blade Runner landed. I don't know what it was, whether it was the idea that Earth is just a dirt ball overpopulated to the nines and no one cares about it anymore except for mega corporations exploiting everybody and viewing you as nothing more than a dollar value.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of, like, there's a brighter future out there, because even in Blade Runner, they pander it to everybody. Off-world developments, new colonies, get out there.
Yeah, please leave.
Yeah, get away from this piece of garbage. Because trust me, this is what it's going to look like. But like Blade Runner takes place in 2019. Los Angeles 2019, and it's like wall-to-wall people. It's gross, but...
We'll see.
That's my favorite kind of cyberpunk. Like, anime cyberpunk varies wildly, but westernized cyberpunk is usually this very strange, dystopian, broken future. Mm-hmm. It even impacted, like, way later developments, things like The Fifth Element. Yeah. The Fifth Element is...
that's cyberpunk?
Yeah, actually, like, the way its future was run and everything.
Oh.
It also very heavily parallels Blade Runner. It asks a lot of the same questions, uses a lot of the same background.
What it is to be human and stuff.
Yeah, like, what really defines us as human.
You know, another really good 80s dystopian future is Brazil.
Yeah.
It takes
I gotta see
a lot of Terry Gilliam, man.
I know.
I'm amazed you haven't seen it.
I am too.
It's a really good one, and a hell of a lot easier to watch than Blade Runner.
Yeah. But still a hard watch. I know lots of people that can't sit through Brazil.
Really?
I've shown it to many friends, and they're always just like, this is not for me, man.
Well, and it's a weird taste, because it's like Blade Runner and Monty Python had a baby.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's a comedy?
Yeah. Well,
there's
got its
it's just the
elements.
weirdness.
It's a lot less serious than Blade Runner. It
Absolutely
doesn't take itself so seriously.
Oh
yeah, it's definitely one worth watching.
If I were dumb, I would have done more research on things like 2001: A Space Odyssey and other things like that.
That's another hard one to watch.
Yeah, but 2001, was it the 80s?
When I got down to my top 50, trying to make my top 10 list this week, the only sci-fi movie I put on there was The Abyss. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Abyss is good.
The Abyss is one of my favorites. I know I left out some great ones. Alien 2 was a contender, but Alien 1 couldn't go on there, so I decided to leave Alien 2 off. But that's all I got in terms of sci-fi. Fifth Element's my other favorite, but that's not 80s.
It's a very 80s sensibility to it, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, 2001 came out in like the 60s. Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
old.
67, 68. Yeah, no, it's powerfully old, but it's good.
That's a far look into the future for them.
Doctor Who was again in the 60s.
Oh.
It started in the 60s. World's longest running television show. It went for like 20, 30 years, and then took a break, and then came back in 2005.
But that's why I love the 80s. I'm a big sci-fi nerd, like I said, and everything about the science fiction scene in that day and age. It's everywhere, and I can't escape it, and I love that fact.
Yeah, where sci-fi boomed.
Exactly. It hit its massive peak. The idea of science fiction coming out back then was, can it be bad? And usually the answer was no.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it had a cheesy premise, robots destroy the world in the future, send a dude back in time to stop them. Cheesy premise, basically. It could have gone wrong like 50 million different ways.
Yeah.
The Terminator is still a great movie.
Mm-hmm. Cool. You good, Mike?
Yeah. I could talk about it for forever, technically, but I'm just going to shut up now and let somebody else take the stage.
I was satisfied with that.
Yeah. So, my topic, everyone loves the 80s, even though we weren't part of them. Because, speaking for myself, I was alive for all of 2 years of it. And consciously, I don't think I remember any of it.
I'm in that boat, too.
Mike, Josh, we're all...
Sorry.
We love the 80s. We've been talking about the 80s for the last 40 minutes. We weren't actually in them. And it's so freaking common that... Like you don't see this phenomenon with the 70s. You don't even really see it with the 90s that much. Although
there's like New Kids on the. Was that that was 90s?
90s
Right?
is New Kids. Yeah.
Yeah, aren't they having like a reunion tour?
No, I think I heard just the other day they're doing something.
A new album, maybe?
Boston Relief concert because they're from Boston.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing about the 90s, though, is, like, youth culture. Like, if you're a kid and you have all those sweet cartoon shows, that's all you're gonna latch onto that.
Yeah.
But, like, fashion was terrible, hair was bad, music was in
Yeah.
general
Same with the
awful.
80s, though, but now people are like, that was awesome.
Yeah,
It's like, actually, neon's not all that great unless you're hunting, because then you
Yeah.
have to wear it. But
Otherwise, you might get shot.
That's what I liked about the 80s is that no one cared. It was just,
Oh.
it didn't matter what you were wearing. It was
if you pulled it off,
that's
your
right.
attitude-
That showed your attitude. Like you didn't judge other people on what they wore. You were like, I could not pull that off, or I'm gonna go get that. Those are the two things,
Have
right?
that mile-long high top with those sweet, square, single visor
Oh,
sunglasses.
yeah, man.
Yeah, it was a very accepting decade, and it's just everyone wants to feel like they were a part of it and they experienced it. Like I hear it all the time in conversations where people are arguing over 80s things or discussing the impact of the 80s, and everyone wants to have been in that. Everyone wants to have been included in that. And I'm even seeing kids that were born in like the 90s or even more recently that are saying like, oh yeah, I know all these old games and these old movies and stuff, and they're making it their own.
Yeah, they played Mario because they downloaded it on their 3DS.
Yeah.
They're trying to tell me how to get to the first warp zone. I'm like, screw you. I had to figure that out.
Do you know what the
myself.
secret mushroom is of level 1? I didn't think so.
Well, I got the star too, bitch.
Well, not only that, but the difference growing up in the 80s, the difference between the Atari and the NES,
Yeah.
they're worlds apart.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys have the difference between the Xbox
Xbox.
and the Xbox 360, which, I mean, better graphics, but it's the same thing. You're just looking forward now to the next one and then the next one. Whereas back then, something new was important. Like going from a Walkman to a Discman was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane. Be like, you mean it's on this disc? That's
Or
futuristic. Like we're like in Star Trek now. It was unbelievable.
I don't have to flip it anymore? No, man, it's all just right there.
Yeah.
You just blew my mind.
That's right. Yeah,
Well, and then
absolutely.
even from the Discman to the MP3 player, that's not 80s anymore, but still, that's another big leap. And then now we're going MP3 player to slightly bigger MP3 player to slightly bigger MP3 player.
That's right.
To
Yeah.
MP3 player with a touchscreen.
And then this
The
MP3
innovation
player
is
plays
just
Og Vorbis.
add-ons to what already exists now, rather
Yeah.
than the new craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were way more important advances.
Oh yeah, that's why, and that's a big part of why everyone was in such a good mood in the '80s too. That's why, and I firmly believe that's why people remember the '80s as the best time, is just because people genuinely were like excited about the future.
Yeah.
Whereas once the '90s hit, the future didn't look too great anymore. Lots of money and greed and
What was it? Money and greed that just dropped the level of trust between people. People don't trust each other like the '80s.
It's true. Yeah, I that probably has a lot to
A
do
kid
with it.
could go buy a pack of smokes for his mom.
That's
I think
right,
that
yeah.
started in like the 2000s, personally. Like, the 90s was a great time just because nothing was happening. It looks, looking back on it, it's very goofy, but if you try and find out anything as far as North American culture, like what really happened, there was a war for a couple of years.
Yeah. It was a war for a couple of years and millions of shitty cartoons. Millions.
In the 80s or 90s?
90s.
90s. Okay, yeah.
Like, what did we get the first Gulf War? No.
Well, the other thing about the 80s is that everyone knew each other. Like, you couldn't go play. You could go play in people's backyards that weren't, related to you, or they just had the good backyard for tag or whatever, so they'd let you use it, right?
It was the transition from like everyone's kind of the village mindset where everyone knows each other, everyone helps each other, and then branched into the technological age where everyone's isolated and cocooned. It was the interim where everyone's getting technology and everyone's really excited, but still really sociable and not all over.
Somebody in TED Talk talked about this. The idea that as we progress further into the future, we're not, even though we can reach out to the entire world, we're becoming far more tribal.
Well, and
we isolate ourselves with smaller and smaller groups of friends.
And I think a big part of that is that, like, back in the village mindset, you have a group of differing opinions. You're stuck with each other. You talk to each other. You like each other. You work through these things. You're on the internet. You go find people who agree with you. You go to a community that has like opinions, and it's stagnation. You're sitting there. You're like, I don't like that. Neither do I. Let's talk about how much we don't like that.
Yeah, you wave your banners, and that's it.
Yeah,
you just get ready to fight other people, and anyone else's opinion is a troll.
Yeah. Anonymity is really destroying it too.
That too, definitely.
Being stuck with being friends with the kids that grew up on your street is an old thing now, right? Kids are friends with whoever they want to be, right? Because they can IM and text when they're in their bedroom.
I was friends with some real assholes because they were just down the street from me in Jurassic Park.
It was just easier that way, right? I'd be like, what games do you have? And if you had different ones than you, then it was a perfect friendship.
Yeah.
You know, that was about
different consoles, BFF.
Yeah.
That's why. I think that's why we like it.
Yeah.
Everybody was
more
connected on a personal level.
More connected on a personal level, and they were still getting into the advances that make life so convenient today.
Yeah.
It was a really good, like I said, interim point.
We're too busy looking for hoverboards to not realize that we're living in the future.
Hey, I get that every time. I'm like, YouTube video on my phone, boop, now it's on my TV. I'm in the future.
Yeah.
Oh man, like I had a Walkman. I made a transition through all the stages, the Walkman to the Discman to the MP3. Like I remember my crappy little RCA Lyra.
I love that.
It held like 30 songs. Expandable memory? That's an unheard of thing now.
I had something like that too.
Yeah. I took my Lyra and wired it to a D-cell battery so it would last longer.
See, that's just boss.
Oh, good times.
All right, cool.
So yeah, I think Josh.
I think we have enough time. We got 13 minutes. Squeeze in
13 minutes.
No, that's not enough time.
No,
is it?
We'll do mine and then break for Seamus.
I was gonna say squeeze in Josh's trivia game, and then we'll do a break. And then we'll do big old movie.
Seamus, you got part 3.
We'll freewheel a little bit more.
I got a part 3?
Yeah.
That makes me special, right?
Yeah.
Excellent.
You can crack open the other everything in your notebook.
I just have a top 10 list. Top 10 movies of the 80s.
And the top 50 list.
Well, I was hoping that could just be posted on your page somewhere, right?
Yeah,
so, because the one thing I did realize when doing this movie thing is that there's no way to make a top 10 that'll please anybody other than yourself. But the top 50, I think it's a solid 50 that you can pick 10 from and be satisfied with. So that's the only reason I want you to post that.
So that'll be coming up in part 3.
But right now, I sort of set up a little music trivia almost. I found 10 songs that are and aren't 80s, and some sound 80s and some don't. And so I'm going to leave it up to Seamus first to guess whether it's 80s or not, and then I guess Mike and Alan could throw their guesses after.
Because music is not my best topic, but I am supposed to be the 80s expert, so I should be able to improvise.
With music. This is going to be terrible for me.
Okay, so Seamus already talked about how I'm going to be editing this, and it's going to be awesome.
Right.
Okay, guys. So, is it 80s or is it not? We're going to start with the very first song. Silence, please, until I'm ready to go. There.
It sounds too 80s to be 80s. It sounds like someone's trying to make it sound like the 80s, so I'm going after.
You're saying not?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a tough one.
That actually almost sounds familiar to me. I'm going to also go with no on that one, but I'm probably wrong.
I'm just going to be contrarian and say it is 80s.
Nice.
That is the song Bulletproof by LaRue. It was released in 2009.
Damn.
They are a British bit. I don't have that much info on every band.
It sounded remarkably like Safety Dance from the 80s, but not quite.
Okay.
You called it with your trying to sound too 80s.
Right,
to be
yeah.
80s.
Okay, if you got that down, you might just nail the rest of these.
Excellent.
So there's going to be a pause because it's not perfect, but the next one. There you go, guys. Is that 80s?
Again, I think it is. Yeah, I think that's. I'm guessing I might be wrong, but it sounded 80s. It sounded like you spin me right round. So I'll go with 80s.
Yeah.
Guys?
It really sounded like that. How Does It Feel?
I have that
Yeah.
song. That's by Orgy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really sounded a lot like that.
Blue Monday or whatever.
That's a tough one. That's almost 280s though. You chose good songs, man.
It's
Thank
true,
you.
yeah.
This is hard.
So far, quite difficult.
Yeah.
Like, all he needs to do is heavy synth, right? Oh God.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 80s.
It sounds like Blue Monday by Origin almost.
Orgy's not an 80s band, though.
No.
Oh, aren't they?
I don't think so.
I think that would be 90s.
Oh, damn.
But you already said 80s.
I already did.
Our answer's already locked in.
Yours is? You said 80s?
Yeah, we all did, I think.
That one is 80s.
Yeah!
It is Blue Monday. It's the original by New Order, 1983.
Excellent.
Oh,
Nice.
sneaky
See, it
bitch.
sounded new too, though. It had that electric sound that newer songs have. Too,
Yeah,
so
if
I wasn't
you're going to
sure.
rely on the synth, you guys are going to have trouble.
Okay.
Next song. How about that one, guys? Is that 80s?
God, I know that song. I have no fucking idea when it came out.
I'm well. You know, I know it best from the movie Pump Up the Volume, which is a '90s movie.
That is not the movie I know it from.
Yeah.
But I think that it's an '80s tune called "Wave of
Oh,
Mutilation."
shit.
No, yeah.
Split the difference. I'm going to say no.
Pixies, man. What year are you?
I love the Pixies.
Yeah.
I got to keep my phone in my pocket.
Thank you. Thanks for not cheating.
Yeah, I'm super tempted to.
Yeah.
Just like Shazam this shit. Done.
Can they do it from 10 seconds?
Probably.
Oh.
Or Soundhound. I don't like Shazam.
I
Okay.
don't know which one I got.
I'm gonna say
Reveal to me your
not
secrets.
80s. I'm gonna say Pixies in 90s.
Pixies, Where Is My Mind? 1988.
Oh yeah.
80s.
Damn it! Right on the border.
Excellent.
I tried not to play 79 songs, and I tried not to play 89 songs.
Fair point.
Okay. And now,
Lots of good movies from '79. My list was destroyed.
it's like, oh shit. Okay, here we go. Number 4. There you go. Is that 80s?
I'm going with no. I don't know it. I don't know that tune at all.
Wow.
But because of that, I'm going with no.
Negativo Capitano.
I'm also gonna go with no.
It
Good
is
job.
not from the 80s.
Yeah.
Carried Away by Passion Pit, 2013.
Passion
Yeah.
Pit.
Oh.
Passion, they got their name, they made up their name, and they thought they were all original. But then they ended up Googling it and found out it's from a 70s porno.
Nice.
Yeah,
Alright.
it's weird because with the synth, the '80s synth is
Yeah.
tinier and it has less depth
Yeah.
than recent synth.
Yeah,
That's tricky stuff.
All that
I didn't want to equalize everything. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have an edge with that, I guess. Okay, number 5, our halfway point song.
Love it.
Is that 80s?
Oh, I know that song too, but I don't know what it is. I've just heard it. No, it's not '80s. No.
Not '80s.
That's Capital Cities.
Yeah, Safe and Sound Capital Cities. 2011.
Oh wow! See, I don't know any current music either.
It only came out in Canada this year, but it was released in the States. American iTunes, 2011.
I'm glad I've been listening to the radio recently.
Me too.
All right, number 6. So we're on the last half.
I'm kind of messed up because I've been listening to a lot of Resurrection.
Do you want to just break it
Radio.
here? Start the next thing with the second half?
We're only at the 55-minute mark.
No, let's finish this game up and have the next segment for Seamus.
Totally. Number 6.
Switch me on, turn me up, or try to finish your job.
Is that 80s? Got
Ah.
some lyrics in that one.
You know, it's tough. I'm going with yes. I do believe that is an 80s tune.
Guys?
That sounds a little off.
I think I've listened to that on a record
A
before.
little grittier than I'm used to.
Not 80s.
I don't know.
Gotta make a call.
You got a 50-50.
Nope. Wish I had a coin right now.
Considering the sheer amount of music that's come out ever, I think it's more than 50-50.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess 80s is
True,
kind
yeah.
of limited now.
Yeah. Yes.
You're saying it is 80s?
I guess so.
Well, sorry, it is
No.
not 80s.
And with that, the score is evened, I think.
That is Ooh La La by Goldfrapp, 2005.
Ooh.
Whoa. How'd they get that super gritty sound in there?
And her voice sold it to me.
Yeah.
You know what got me is the background, like the synth in the background. That's almost identical to something in Borderlands
Oh.
when you're in Moxie's club.
Ah.
That's
Maybe they got it from Goldfrapp.
might have.
Son of a bitch, Borderlands.
Well, you got one wrong.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Is that my first one wrong?
Yeah,
Wow.
actually.
Wow.
Like, there's a lot of 80s music in the 80s movies.
Yeah, that's how I know my music from.
Number 7. Is that 80s?
I can't imagine that's from the 80s. I don't think people in the 80s would tolerate such sounds.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
I kind of want to get that song from you. That
That
I
sounds
like that.
ridiculous.
Well, you're...
Yeah.
After answers, there's the name and stuff.
we have to go for the podcast. I was gonna say yes.
Okay.
Say screw it. Probably not.
I'm gonna say no.
That is not the 80s. No. That is Tenderoni by Chromeo, 2007.
Yeah, in the 80s we were still listening to Whitney Houston, right?
Oh.
You gotta think about that, right? You played something like that for someone, they'd be like, what planet are you from?
Yeah.
I thought if with just that high voice, not that low voice, it would have sold it, but I couldn't get a nice clip without that low voice. Number 8, last 3. Is that 80s?
I have no idea.
The rest of the song is a giveaway, so I played that clip.
I'm saying no, it is not the 80s.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with yeah. It is the 80s.
I've gone with yes both times. I'm gonna say no. Be wrong again.
You're saying not?
Yeah.
That is the 80s!
Oh.
That's a little part of the beginning of Without You by David Bowie, 1983.
David Bowie.
Yes!
Strikes again.
You call this movie shit, and these shit's on you!
Oh, you did.
You were hoping you got that wrong.
It was, oh, yeah.
This is a loaded question. Get it wrong.
Okie doke, number 9.
The question is when did it come out?
Yeah, when did it come out? Is that 80s?
God damn.
That's some good guitar playing, so I'll say yes.
1974 was the premiere of rock music.
Is that right? 74?
I'll say no.
I do not know my classic
I
rock
know
trivia.
I know who that is, and I know what song that is, but I don't know
Yeah.
when it came out.
What did you say, Seamus?
I said it is 80s.
Okay. James said it was.
But I feel like I'm getting the wrong answers lately.
I'm going to say no, just because on a timeline of that kind of guitar, 80s wasn't all of it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go with no, and I'm going to kick myself.
That's YYZ. Isn't it?
Hairband guitar was different in the 80s. You're right. No, I think you're right.
Your answer's locked in, James.
I know.
Okay.
It's YYZ, wasn't it?
You already said
Is
no.
it 80s? Did you give your answer?
I said no.
Okay, no. That is the 80s.
Shit.
It is, but
Rush's seminal album, Moving Pictures, released
Why,
in
why?
1983.
Sounds
Wait, no,
YYZ.
1981. Sorry.
Song's YYZ though, right?
Yep.
One.
Yeah,
Damn.
YYZ.
Yeah, see, I know that. I'm like,
Yeah.
just come on.
I don't know that song, actually, so...
I know it from Guitar
pure,
Hero.
Pure luck.
So,
Okay.
damn.
You got it right, James. All right. Number 10.
Uh-oh.
I don't think any of you have heard this song,
Lightning round.
but how old is it?
Tragedy has struck again.
Was that 80s?
I'm saying no. I think it's later than 80s.
Like how much?
Like 20 years.
We'll go with, yeah, it's 80s.
Sure, why not?
It was 20 years older than 1989.
Nice.
2009.
Damn.
My friend's dad, Black Storm. The
Oh.
song Contradictions.
Right, because you said you were going to put some of them on here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm an
Black
idiot.
Storm. You remember you
Definitely go to iTunes, look for Black Storm. It's the dude in black and white or the blue album cover, because there are other bands named Black Storm.
It's a good name.
He's been reviewed as a mix of Rush, Pink Floyd, and Supertramp or something. Not Supertramp. Someone else. So that's pretty good. The only two wrong for a guy who doesn't know music.
Nice. I'm proud of myself.
And it was a not 80s and an 80s song he got wrong. So nice and even for that, I think. That's fun.
That was
That
fun.
was fun.
Yeah, that was actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But I still did well, so...
Yeah.
I'm a hardware kind of guy.
Since I picked 10,
I
you
like-
got 80%.
I like
Yeah.
and planes and that kind of stuff.
How'd I do?
Hard.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't remember.
I think you did. I think you went 7 out of 10.
Yeah, 6 or 7, I think.
I got a solid 5.
Nice, yeah.
I started with check marks, and then I was like, is it writing initials? And, I just shit on it. You know what? I can tell you after I listen to it.
It's recorded.
Okay, fair point.
Okay, cool. That's our first game show, and the end of part 2. Right, Mike?
Yes. Stop.
Host is disconnected from game.